Look at this map of Western Europe: France, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, the Netherlands. One piece of parchment signed in 843 drew the lines that created almost all of these countries, and the strip of land it gave to the supposed winner became the most fought over territory in human history, contested through medieval wars, Napoleon, the Franco-Prussian War, and both world wars. This is the story of the Treaty of Verdun. To understand how this happened, we need to start with one emperor and the ambition of three brothers. In the year 800, Charlemagne, Charles the Great, was crowned emperor of the Romans. He unified most of Western Europe into a single realm, the Carolingian Empire, named after his dynasty. From the Spanish border to Saxony, from Rome to the North Sea, one ruler held it all. But Frankish tradition demanded that a kingdom be divided among a ruler's sons like property. The empire was never designed to stay whole. Charlemagne's son, Louis the Pious, held it together, barely. When Louis died in 840, civil war erupted among his three surviving sons, three brothers, three claims. Lothar the eldest held the imperial title and demanded supremacy over his siblings. Louis, called the German, controlled the eastern Germanic-speaking lands. Charles, later known as the Bold, held the western Romance-speaking territories, Romance languages, French, Italian, Spanish, versus Germanic languages like German and Dutch. After 3 years of devastating civil war, none could defeat the others. In 843, they met at Verdun and signed a treaty dividing the empire into 3 kingdoms. Charles the Bold received West Francia, roughly modern France, Neustria in the north, Aquitaine in the south, the Spanish March along the border with Muslim Spain. This was the beginning of France. Louis the German received East Francia, Saxony, Bavaria, Alemannia, the Germanic-speaking heartland. This was the beginning of Germany. Note something critical. The East-West division tracked an existing linguistic boundary. Romance speakers went west, Germanic speakers went east. That's why this division stuck. Lothar received the prize, the middle, a long strip from Frisia, the modern northern Netherlands, south through the Rhineland, Burgundy, and Provence, all the way to Rome. Both imperial capitals, Aachen and Rome, fell inside his territory. He kept the emperor's title. On paper, Lothar won. But look at the shape of Lothar's kingdom. It stretched 1,000 miles from north to south, and at its narrowest, barely 150 miles from east to west. No one could defend a country shaped like that. Any attack from the east or west cuts it in half. Prestige did not equal defensibility. When Lothar died in 855, his kingdom fractured almost immediately. Within a generation, the western and eastern kingdoms had carved it up between them. The Middle Kingdom's name survived, Lorraine in French, Lotharingian in German, literally named after Lothar. But as a unified state, it was finished. The Middle Kingdom collapsed, but its ghost haunted European history for over 1,000 years. Consider Alsace-Lorraine, a small region sitting exactly on the old fault line between West and East Francia. For centuries, it drifted between the French and German spheres. Absorbed into the Holy Roman Empire and the German sphere, it was gradually annexed by France in the 17th century. Then came the modern era, and in the span of just 75 years, Alsace-Lorraine changed hands 4 times. In 1870, Germany seized it after the Franco-Prussian War. In 1919, France recovered it under the Treaty of Versailles. In 1940, Hitler annexed it. In 1945, it returned to France after liberation. 4 changes in 75 years. This was not random violence. The same contested boundary from 843, where Romance-speaking West met Germanic-speaking East, remained unresolved for over 1,100 years. The ghosts appear elsewhere too. Belgium, a country that didn't exist until 1830, sits squarely on the old Middle Kingdom. Its north speaks Dutch, a Germanic language. Its south speaks French, a Romance language. Brussels sits on the boundary as a bilingual enclave, and this linguistic divide traces the ancient boundary between Germanic and Romance-speaking populations, a boundary that existed before 843 but was hardened by the Partition. Belgium's ongoing political tensions between Flanders and Wallonia are a living echo of the Treaty of Verdun. Then there's Switzerland. 4 official languages: German, French, Italian, and Romansh. It sits precisely where the Middle Kingdom's cultures collided. The Swiss solve a telling problem on their postage stamps and coins. Choosing any one of the 4 languages would privilege one group over the others, so they use Helvetia, the Latin name for the region, a dead language, as neutral ground. Even the postage stamps are shaped by 843. After Verdun, the imperial title itself faded into irrelevance. Charles the Bold briefly reunited the empire in 875, but it collapsed again at his death. When the title was eventually revived, it covered Germany and parts of Italy, not France. The unified Carolingian vision was gone for good. Belgium's language line, Switzerland's stamps, Alsace-Lorraine scars, all echoes of the same moment in 843. Place the 843 partition lines on a modern map. The correspondence is striking: France's eastern border, Germany's western border, the Low Countries, Switzerland, northern Italy, all sitting on or within Lothar's vanished Middle Kingdom, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, each carved from that doomed strip. It would be an overstatement to say all European history, since 843 is simply the unwinding of Verdun. But the observation is not without force. Charlemagne's legacy was the creation of a cultural realm called Europe. His grandson's legacy was its ambiguous and contested division, a division whose echoes are still audible in the language on the streets of Brussels, the stamps of Bern, and the war memorials lining the fields of Alsace.